So, this is going to be my Sunday monologue. I've watched these it's called protest. It's not protest, it's Palestinization of American universities. American universities are being taken over by a narrative dictated by Hamas, a terror group, an internationally recognized terror group. So, let me get this. Universities actually pay people to teach people born in America about communism, how communism is so amazing, how American way of life is so horrible, and how communism is what we have to strive for. And not only communism, but terror-sponsored communism, this very, very special type of communism that so-called tries to eradicate any kind of identity. We don't need an ethnic identity, but we can make up an ethnic identity. We can make up a separate ethnic identity based on 30 years of British mandate. The British ruled 30 years in this tiny 0.001% of the Middle East. The British ruled after World War I, and they called it Palestine. And ever since then, there was a new nation born. But get this, it's so interesting. This is like a nation that is new and yet the most ancient nation in the area. Even though there's no archaeological evidence of any Palestinian entity, like, let's say they lived there. Where are their tools, their coins? Where is the Palestinian king, ruler? Like, the Jews left a lot. Like, thousands of years later, archaeologists, not Jewish, they dug up evidence that Jews lived there thousands of years ago. There's coins, there's temples, there's bathhouses, there's evidence that there was an ancient civilization there, Judaic civilization, but there's nothing Palestinian. It doesn't exist. There's no it doesn't say Palestine anywhere, except during those 30 years, from 1914 to 1948, where the British were there, and they decided to call it Palestine because they decided to use a Roman term. Okay, so they invented. So now there's this nation, I think it was born 1964, Yasser Arafat started this terror organization where they would bomb civilian places. Why target civilians? Well, Nelson Mandela thought it was a good idea too. And that explains why South Africa is so enthusiastic. There's all kinds of historic reasons for these alliances. But the question is, why would an American student, somebody born in America, identify with terrorists? Maybe it's like the way kids play with G.I. Joe. That's also, by the way, 1964. It came, these little soldiers, they think it's so fun. It's so much fun. Well, maybe they can come and visit and see how much fun it was on October 7th. When these terrorists came over with civilians, yes, Shiva, we need to go, and did horrific things, not unlike the Holocaust. Tonight is Holocaust Memorial Day in Israel, and they just reenacted the Holocaust for the Jews. They thought it was really hilarious to put babies in ovens, to murder them, to cut women open, to rape them, to kidnap them, to torture them, to starve them. They're still being kept in Gaza. They did a reenactment of the Holocaust, basically. And these students are applauding this. These people born in America, land of the free, home of the brave, are applauding this. And this is like all over America. But I've listened to the Jewish students and how they're not being allowed in New York City. They're not allowed to go into a campus for which they paid $100,000. Can you imagine $100,000? Now, I got an education. My BA is from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and founded before 1948, by the way, a Zionist establishment, and like I think 10% of $100,000, something like that. Not great with numbers, but it doesn't cost a lot to get a university degree in Israel. But in America, it's $100,000. Wow. People get student loans, all kinds of things. Some people don't need it, but you are paying $100,000, and that place doesn't let you in, doesn't let you go into, doesn't let your professor, who is Israeli, go in to teach social psychology, which is completely the opposite of social. Like, this person is supposed to teach people about how humans behave, to explain human behavior in masses. He's not even allowed to go into the campus because he's a Jew. You're not allowed to go into the campus because you're a Jew and you're paying for this. Well, just don't pay. Just quit. Any university that allows the university to become a platform for Palestinian terrorists, well, fine. You wanted to, okay. You wake up one day and instead of going to university, you're going to a Palestinian terrorist platform, then just stop going there. You have a choice. You don't have to go to a university that is no longer functioning as a university, that doesn't give you security, and then sue them for breach of promise. You signed on for university, not for a Palestinian terrorist platform. You didn't sign up for that. That's not what you were spending your time doing. God knows what a university degree gives you anyway, but you signed on for something else. So just don't go there anymore and sue them. Sue them. Don't pay $100,000, and let's see how long this Palestinian terrorist platform will survive. It's so simple. Just don't go. You don't have to go. You don't have to go. A third time, I'll repeat it. You don't have to go to a university that is no longer a university. It doesn't function like a university. It doesn't give you the services of a university. It treats you like a subhuman. It's racist. Then don't go there anymore. Just don't go. You're not in Nazi Germany. You have choices. You're an American Jew or an Israeli Jew that decided to, for some crazy reason, rather than to attend an Israeli university, to go to America to study in New York and Columbia University because you think it's worth $100,000, but you're not getting the services. Then just quit. Don't go. Quitting is okay if you're not getting what you pay for. If you go to a store and you want to buy a dress, and instead of it, you're getting a torture chamber, right? You want to buy a certain product, but instead of it, you're getting abuse. Like this, let's say you're going to a store and the salesperson is kicking you in the face. Why would you stay in the store? Why would anybody stay in that store? Just quit. Don't go to school. Quit. Just don't go to school. Do what the African Americans did. They decided not to use the bus services because they didn't want to be segregated anymore. So learn from that. Just don't go to universities that treat you as if you're subhuman, that decide that you're there to be exposed to Palestinian propaganda, terrorist propaganda, that you're supposed to be exposed to a made-up history of a made-up nation, that no, it's not part of 1.2 billion Muslims. It's not part of the Arab nation. No. They're a unique, ethnically separated person who are undergoing a genocide, which is not true, because their numbers are increasing. If a nation undergoes, as the Armenians, okay, let's like the Armenians, okay, they were massacred. Their genocide has not been recognized by most of the people in the world. There was a genocide during World War One. By the way, I'm reading a book by Franz Warfel, a Jewish Austrian writer, who wrote the 40 Days of. I wonder if anybody in Columbia University is studying Armenian genocide. I wonder if they're talking about the Armenian genocide or other people's genocide, or the people of Tibet. I wonder if anybody's talking about the Tibetan people who underwent a genocide. 40 Days of Musadag. And then let's compare this to the made-up nation of Palestine. The one who is named after the 30 years rule of the British Mandate. Okay? I'm not saying they're not real people. They're real people, but their identity is definitely not an identity that can be traced back to any historical artifacts. There's nothing. Like, they were just like, they're part of 1.2 billion Arabs, and yet they claim to be undergoing genocide when Israel is killing terrorists, because otherwise the terrorists would be here, right here, killing us. And there's rockets every day. Every day, wake up, there's rockets from the north, from Lebanon. So look what a wonderful country Lebanon has become. It was the Switzerland of the Middle East. It is now a terror training camp. Everywhere that this wonderful Palestinians have been turned out to be a terrorist training camp, whether it's Syria, whether it's Lebanon, wherever they went. And we're getting rockets daily in the north. There are people that can't live there. They're attacking animals, people, whether they're Arabs or Jews, the rockets don't know. There are actually Arabs also being held hostage in Gaza. Let's say all the people in Gaza are being held hostage by Hamas, and yet you say free Palestine. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. Freedom of Hamas, freedom of this terror propaganda, and free yourselves. You don't have to go to university. You can work in McDonald's. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do something, you can just do it. You don't have to be indoctrinated by a communist, terrorist, this wonderful combination. I mean, it's like, now they have like all kinds of kitchens where they do sushi in Italian or whatever. I forgot what it called, fusion kitchen. So now they take communist ideology and terrorist ideology and blend them all together. And look what a wonderful dish. And they serve it to you. You don't have to eat it. You don't have to pay $100,000 for it. Stop being a victim. It's Holocaust, Memorial Day. You don't have to do anything. We're not ruled by Nazis anymore. There's no Nazis controlling your country. You don't have to go to your university where people are screaming at you, slogans spitting at you and hitting you and punching you. That's not what you signed up for. Like, I assume that you're not paying $100,000 to get abused, unless you're a masochist, in which case, okay, right, go right ahead. So, first of all, I don't see why people are allowing themselves to be abused, why anybody would want to attend a university like this, why anybody born in a so-called free society would be willing to subject themselves to be part of this terrorist propaganda machine. I don't really understand that. Obviously, if you're not able to think for yourself, if you're not a critical thinker, why would you get a higher education if you don't even know how to think for yourself? Why don't you just work in McDonald's and serve society? I mean, I don't like McDonald's personally. Maybe they have vegan products, so work in a vegan McDonald's. I don't know. But definitely, this is not a university according to the definition of higher education. It's not higher education. It's sub-zero level of education. It's teaching you to be a parrot of Palestinian terrorist propaganda. And I saw this, the worst video on TikTok was this Palestinian student, I forgot which university. She's a valedictorian, so she's making this speech and she's blaming Israel for the fact there's no health care in America. No, yeah, all the problems in America is Israel. Yeah, wow, great. All the problems of the world, yeah, everything is because America is giving help to Israel. Did it ever occur to her that if it wasn't for Israeli soldiers fighting terrorists, it would be American soldiers dying, fighting terrorists in Gaza? Because if it wasn't for Israel, this area too would be part of cultures like Lebanon. I don't know if you can call it a culture, where murder and fascism, or Iranian like Islamic nation, wonderful culture where you can be beheaded, where a DJ can be beheaded for speaking out, where as we speak people are being executed just because they don't want to wear certain clothes, they don't want to be covered. So this kind of crazy extremist fascist society, this is the kind of society you admire as a person born in a so-called free society? Wow. I mean, this is George Orwell's prophetic books coming to be a reality. It's like, I think also he questioned whether people really want to be free. And let me end with a quote by a professor of mine from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, who said, people are born free, but for some reason they prefer to live in cages. So you are born in a free society, you can do whatever you want, you can attend university for $100,000, and yet you prefer to be a parrot, to repeat slogans of terrorists that have absolutely no access to university. And you know what they were taught in UNRWA schools? They were taught the ideology of Adolf Hitler. This is what they found, Mein Kampf. This is what kids were taught. It's a sick joke. It's a sick joke, but it's George Orwell's prophecy, prophetic books becoming a reality. Yes, children are taught to murder other people just because they are a certain ethnic group. And then they project this genocidal, jihadist ideas on others and blame them for being jihadists. Jihadists are blaming the victims of jihad of being jihadists. And this is amazing how people that are in academia can't figure it out. And actually there are professors who are also blaming the victims of jihad of being jihadists. So jihad is not it's not something that Israel or Judaism has. We don't have jihad. We have, though, the right to protect ourselves. We have that. That's the holy war we have, that we have a right to protect ourselves. And we are not just going to sit there and be massacred, because guess what? The Holocaust is over. And we don't want to live another one. And a few Holocaust victims had to relive it. They had to hide while jihadists came and burned down their homes and murdered their neighbors and tried to murder their kids and kidnap their children. And there's still people in Gaza being held right now as we speak. And so how dare people be so stupid, ignorant, and serve as spokespeople free of charge? I know they are actually paying money to be spokespeople for an internationally recognized terror group called Hamas. So it's so odd that they can't figure out a very simple equation. Jihadists blaming the victims of jihadists of being jihadists. It's unbelievable how gullible, stupid, and willing to be sponsoring terror groups these people are. And then they let this woman with a keffiyeh stand there proudly with her American accent and claim to be a proud Palestinian, a made-up country that existed 30 years under British mandate. My grandmother, my grandfather were Palestinians, by the way. They had Palestinian passports. It's unbelievable because they lived here before 1948 under the British mandate. This is absolutely the craziest times ever. I mean, people in insane asylums are more normal. Even people that are suffering from horrible disorders are more normal, more functioning as normal people than these people in American campuses. I see it and I'm like, and I wonder why the Jewish students are willing to accept this abuse. Just don't go. Nobody's forcing you. There's nobody forcing you to go to university where you're abused. Don't go. Stay with your dog. Learn from dogs. They wouldn't go there. Would you go there? No. Oh my God, you have such beautiful teeth. You're such a gorgeous dog. I mean, a dog has this instinct that they run away from abuse. So what's wrong with people that are willing to accept abuse? I don't get it. I don't get it. As a person that was also in a situation where at one point I did receive, sometimes we're born in a family or we marry somebody and we experience abuse. But then at one point we wake up and smell the roses. And if education doesn't make you wake up and realize certain realities are unacceptable and are that you're being used and lied to, then what's the point of education then? You might as well not get one if it doesn't teach you to be a thinker and to improve your life.